the reinvention of the company. What I want to go back and kind of touch on is the company itself. And the Limu company is a 7-year-old, debt-free, profitable company. And it's been that way pretty much from its inception. And the story of Limu is kind of unique because a lot of questions I get asked, and this is one that everybody in here is going to get asked at some point, is, okay, Trey, it's a 7-year-old company. Why haven't we heard about it? All right, it's down in Lake Mary, Florida, founded by a guy named Gary Racer, and I'll tell you Gary's story in just a minute. And part of the reason that I came to the company, what attracted me to the company, not being a big product guy, was the fact of not only Gary, but the team that he had surrounded himself with. And a lot of the industry is you have to, at some point, invest in that leadership. Because at the end of the day, that's really, kind of my buy-in to the company. But, Limu was founded, and Gary has a long history in the industry as a distributor himself and as a owner of a company. But they launched back 7 years ago, and like many, Gary launched it from scratch. Started the company with 9,000 distributors. Literally opened a door when he decided to do this. Had a conference call and told a group of people that he knew and that trusted him, and just said, "Listen, I'm going to go do this, but I'm only going to do it with you." And so over the course of 3 or 4 days, they just started faxing in applications, and 9,000 people launched this company back then. First year out of the gate, rock star status, boom, straight to $10 million in revenue. They were on fire. And it was really all built around just this one product, the Limu Original. That's what the company was founded on. It has a cool thing called Fucoidan in here. I'm not even going to try to explain it to you guys. Most of you don't care anyway. You're big network marketers. But the science behind the product, the science behind Fucoidan is probably just without a question, probably one of the biggest things that you'll find over time to be a benefit about what you're doing. And so Gary launched like that. 10 million the first year, 10 million goes to 25 million the second year, same things happened in the third year, and then just a number of things started to happen. One, there were some family issues there with Gary that kind of he had to go spend some time focusing on helping his family, and then we got into kind of that point in time where the economy started to change. All right, and so like for most companies, if you're spending, when you have disposable income and people have the ability to think about preventative type stuff, then paying $20, $30, $40 a bottle for this kind of a product is not unreasonable. People would do it. As the economy started to slow down, what did end up happening? People started having to make choices. We talked about it earlier, and choices became, can I afford the preventative, or do I need to take care of paying the bills? Well, I need to take care of paying the bills. And Gary's also off now dealing with some stuff that he had going on. And so really what ended up happening, and this is the compliment to the company. That story that I'm telling you, all of a sudden in your mind, you say, okay, they started off as a rocket ship and then some changes started happening. Here's the cool thing about it, guys. Year 4, 25 million. Year 5, 25 million. The company, even when most companies were shrinking, when people were signing off auto ships, the company continued to maintain its existing revenue. Why? This is a big point to talk about. Why? Because the product works. The products work, and people continued to buy the product even though they weren't necessarily having a major growth factor. Revenue didn't nosedive. They survived that period of time. And so about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, Gary kind of gets refocused on his business, stabilizes what was going on in his personal life, and I don't mean personal life, he had an illness in the family that took his attention away. Like most of you, if something happened to our family member, our kids or something, we go focus on that and try to help. And Gary was able to go do that. Financially, he was able to go do that. Cool thing about it, he had surrounded himself with a great management team that continued to run the company. Gary comes back into the picture, gets refocused on his company, and just looks at his company and says, you know what, guys, if we're going to take this to the next level, and he came back recharged, ready to go, he said, we've got to change. He tells a joke, which I love, it's just hilarious. He said he was standing on stage one time, he said, I am a Buick. And all of a sudden I was looking out in the audience and there was a bunch of Buicks. All right? Well, a bunch of Buicks can't attract a Porsche. And if we want to go track the next generation of network marketers, they're not driving Buicks. And so his deal was, I've got to go out now and bring some new talent to get this company and kind of put a new spin on the company and relaunch it. And that's really where about 7, 8 months further down the road that I saw the company. He had gone out and hired some great people, and I will tell you that the existing core group of people that were there, the management team, Justo and Greg and all that group did a great job of maintaining where the company was. But then all of a sudden, he went out and found a guy named Ryan Barsons. And Ryan's unique in the fact that Ryan had been a part of the industry, and he had helped multiple 100 million plus network marketing companies go global. That was his expertise. Working in the field in association with leaders, but helping companies go global. And Ryan came on board as the Vice President of Business Development. And Ryan is not a Buick. Ryan was getting closer to that Porsche and had that image, had come from a very successful company. Ryan gets there and he says, you know what, guys, we've really got to go to the next level with our marketing, our sales, all of our tools that we have. And Ryan knew another gentleman by the name of Kerry Brown. And Kerry had, not only did Kerry have success in the marketing arena, but he had had a lot of success in the field as a distributor. He'd also owned his own company. And so he had been a part of a major global company going global, 100 million plus in revenue. And so all of a sudden now, about 2 years ago, these three guys come together and they start rebranding, refacing, so to speak, the company. And that's about a year ago when I saw the company. The only difference between what you see now, and by the way, if you haven't checked out the website, if you have not seen the videos, the caliber of the marketing material, the tools that these guys put together, it is by far, I mean, it's better than a lot of stuff you'll see in corporate America. I mean, they've got videos and tools you can use that would rival the stuff going on at Pixar. I mean, it's just amazing what they do. And so all of a sudden they started to get started in this thing. They started to reinvent themselves. They started to attract some more industry type people, and that's where we got involved with them, and we decided that, you know what, let's take this thing now to one more level. Gary just sat down and he said, I haven't spent 7 years of my life and millions of dollars investing in this company to now have to go all of a sudden become one of those could have been companies. He said, so we are going to literally, guys, and this is the story, this is where you're walking into this story. You have the opportunity to participate in a ground floor opportunity, but not have the risk associated with a startup, because Gary said, I'm going to stop the company, we're going to turn it 180 degrees, and we're going to relaunch it in a new platform that I think is going to be a paradigm shift and a complete change on the network marketing industry. And that's kind of where we are today. Gary, very simply, 25 years in the industry. In my opinion, and I believe I don't misstate this, is probably one of the top 20 all-time income earners in the network marketing industry. Has been around it, understands it both from the distributor standpoint, promoter standpoint, but also understands it as an owner standpoint. And over the course of my dealing with these guys, I've never seen a team of people more willing to go out and invest in going to the next level than they have. That's obviously why we're here. That's the opportunity for you guys. Okay, so here's the opportunity. And when I say this, you guys are unique in the fact that you're hearing this as, I mean, September the 1st of this year, we launched the Limu Experience. And why that means something to you, and I use this example, I mean, think about it this way. Everybody knows Apple, right? Obviously with what just recently happened, Apple's even more in the forefront. But when I look at the Limu opportunity, when I look at leaders like you guys, it's like, all right, we all knew about companies that were successful, but we kind of didn't participate in them. Think about it like this. If you had the opportunity when Apple launched to buy stock in Apple when the Mac came out, all right, knowing what you know today, you would have done it, right? But none of us did. But if you did buy stock at that point in time, just threw it in the drawer, closed the drawer, you had a pretty successful stock, right? Fast forward 10 or 15 years down the road, all of a sudden the iPhone comes out and you get the opportunity to buy stock with the iPhone. It's still a great stock, right? But how much better was the stock back here when the Mac came out? Knowing what you know today, if I could tell you, you could go back and knowing what you know today, you could go back in time and buy Apple stock at the Mac. How many of you could find $500 to buy it? Everybody could, right? Well, that's kind of what I look at the Limu Experience as. 7-year-old, debt-free, profitable company. Now all of a sudden we're looking back, knowing what we know. We get to go back in time as if we were there 7 years ago when they launched the company. We are at the beginning of the relaunch of this company. The opportunity for you guys is very simple. As we relaunch this, we are relaunching a team inside of this business. You guys are probably one of the first 300, 400, 500 people to see this opportunity up close and personal. But you're not taking the risk of seeing something that's a startup. You know, when people say startup, I say thank you, goodbye. I just won't do it. I mean, you can't take a team to a startup, because if the startup works, everybody is happy. Startup doesn't work, you just led your whole organization to a dead dog that doesn't hunt. And so what we got to say is that we're going to relaunch a company, but we're relaunching it 7-year-old, debt-free, shareholder-free, $25 million in revenue. I mean, that was a pretty cool, safe bet. What the opportunity meant for you, if you looked at it this way, and I draw this picture because I think this is a cool picture to draw. If this is Limu, and all of a sudden I said you get to relaunch a company and be a part of the initial deal, pardon the pun, that is a pyramid, okay, pardon the pun. But think about it this way. You're here in the beginning of the relaunch. You guys have all heard successful stories about the builders in the industry, whether it's Amway or whether it's somebody like that, the big names in the industry. Why were they able to build the wealth that they built? Because they were there when this happened, and they stayed there long enough for it to build. But for you and I, we missed Apple when it launched the Mac. We missed Limu when it launched. We weren't there. Cool thing for you right now is you get to relaunch. And here's the other cool thing, even more important for me, is that guys, we are creating a complete paradigm shift in the industry. Think about network marketing companies that you know. All right, just think about them in your mind for a second. How many of those companies could compete over the next 3, 4, 5 years with a company, debt-free, shareholder-free, debt-free, and profitable since day one? Now, walk with me. Think about this. How many of those companies are going to be able to compete with a company who, number one's created a way to overcome what I call selling/recruiting, in the old school way of thinking about it, can get people their product for free, and now are creating a success model driving customers and converting mainstream America into the industry? How many old school companies can compete with that? None of them can. Why? Because they can't change. Their comp plans have been designed, and so many people have gone through those tunnels that they can't change, nor are they really interested in changing. And so now all of a sudden, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, if you're sitting there and you're recruiting 2 people, one of them's going to company A, old school, one of them's coming to Limu, and the choice is go to old school, recruit old school style, pay for your auto ship, and try to get people convinced with all that baggage that that company has. Or company B, which is real simple. I got a way to get you in the business, get you started that doesn't sound like network marketing. Number 2, I can get you your product for free. And number 3, we're creating a lot of success and momentum over here. Which one are people going to go to? That's it. It's a complete paradigm shift on the industry. Cool thing for you guys sitting in the room, Limu, you. That's what makes it make sense.